I'm Jeremiah Boucher, a commercial real estate investor with over 20 years experience. This show is designed to help you build your business, become a better real estate investor, and help you see opportunities that will keep you ahead of the competition. This is Finding Your Edge.
You know, see, the problem is you and me, we could be coached hard and we could be self-starters and we could be the people that you go, damn, I'm just glad to have them on the team, right? And I know that because I'm not, it's not like we're beating our chests. Like, listen, if you're a high performer, you're a high performer. It's like, it is what it is. And right. Like you could be placed in any organization. It doesn't matter what you're selling, what it is, you're going to be a high performer. Just going to happen, right?
Right.
And so those folks don't need management. They may need a little direction because they're going to ask you, right? They're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, how do I get better? And they're going to do it themselves. They're going to go look this stuff up and they're going to come to you and say, hey, this is what I've been thinking, right? Or why don't we try this? And those things you really can't, I guess you can inspire those things, but that's what everyone's looking for, right? When you're hiring, it's like, how do I hire just that? So I don't have to do the hard work and manage. And I can let them go and run and maybe I can just take the credit, right? And so I think that's the tough thing is when you're a high performer type of person is then how do I go and manage someone who isn't, but they are important to the organization, right? And so that's where it gets real funky and tough because like you got the sales and acquisition folks, you got the management folks, you got the accounting folks. And it's like, how do you put a number on things? Like, how do we scoreboard everybody's job so that they feel like they're all like, yep, I got one, and they can ring the bell and whatever that is. Again, all my experiences with sales and acquisition and real estate type of, stuff. So I don't really know how it all works in a larger organization, but that's where I could see it being very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the definition of management and what we're traditionally taught is that you need to babysit someone. You need to check, whole micromanage in terms of holding their hand. What did you do today? Why did you do it? What were the results? And, listening to Keith Cunningham about, his lessons of being a CEO and just an executive in general, 80% of the solution is hiring. It's finding the right player for the position, just like in every sport, right? I mean, you got to bring a guy out that has all the natural talents to be a great wideout, and all you got to do is teach him some routes and teach him some basic principles, and maybe get him dialed in on catching. You're going to have a pretty probable superstar, rather than a guy that just doesn't have the raw the skills or talent. I mean, you can only get so far, right? And maybe that's all you can fit him in there in terms of utility at that moment. But if you can find those superstars in different positions that already have the predisposition to be great at that skill, that's a big help. And just to tie it back to business, we hired a great asset manager from the multifamily space. And it really wasn't, there was a lot of traits, but in business, it's a lot of, accountability, organization, dependability, consistency, clarity of communication, having some tools in a repertoire, some experience. These things are just amazing to bring into an organization. And it's night and day difference with someone that, is inconsistent, doesn't have any experience, isn't a self-starter, isn't a person that can solve problems comprehensively and use their own intellect to take chances and to try to reason through things, right? It's just night and day.
And what's great about those people, and again, that's why hiring is so important, right?
Yeah.
And that's why people go bananas on talent and will do whatever they can possibly do to get the right people in the room, because that one person can be a culture change for the entire company. That one person, and it can just literally change the company. And I think it's so critical, but it's got to be one of the toughest things to do, because you can have someone that's you think has got everything on paper and they come in and they're a dud. That happens too. So it's super tough, no doubt about it. And I don't think HR and training and people get enough probably credit when they do find that diamond, and so, yeah, I agree. I think that's probably one of the tougher aspects of running a business. Has got to be, you're still trying to build the business. You're still trying to raise the money. You're still trying to find the acquisitions. And then at the same time, you're trying to, maybe the biggest acquisition is the person you hire.
Right there, man. And I would say, the lesson that translates through on this episode is, in just of what I've learned, is don't skimp on this hiring process. Like, take the time and energy to really articulate what is the position that you need, what are the roles, what are the duties, what are the values, what are the attributes of this person, visualize this person, and then go out and look for it and be patient. So in terms of my assistants, executive assistants, or with different department leaders, I've made so many mistakes here. I mean, and I've had good people along the way, and just sometimes you just evolve and change. And I'd like to hear your journey in the future as you scale up and take some key hires. I can't stress enough this hiring process, and it's something that's not talked about a lot in the real estate investing world. No,
not at all. This is where it's like we're getting very close to like having to bring on, a controller, or bringing on, I don't even know what would be the best first person to hire even at this point, but we're just trying to at some point fire ourselves out of some of the stuff that, hey, that's not our best thing. That's not our best fit for me. That's not my best fit for my partner. And we gotta figure that out. But, we got work to do still.
Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, you just got to figure shit out quick.
Yeah.
It's something, man. You get to the next level of the video game and you're like, wow, this is a whole new set of rules. Now I got to figure this out and get, understand the 80% of it quickly. And then don't worry about the little details, and you'll get that later and get some help. I know another key investor that I had a call today. He said, culture eats strategy any day of the week.
Wow.
So, culture, I thought about it and I wasn't sure if I agreed with it, but if you think of the Patriot way, you can have the best strategy in the world, but over time, for you to endure and the obstacles and challenges of all the different the competitive environment everyone's in, you got to have the right culture to be able to sustain.
Well, that goes back to love, right? It goes back to like loving, and if you really empower and love the people that are there, and the gratefulness is something that comes through when you're maybe addressing the team. And I know that's something that my partner Matt does so well, and makes people just feel amazing. And then those people will go to war with you, and those are the people you want in the trenches with you, right? That are willing to go and get bloody. And you want someone that's willing to battle, and you're not going to necessarily get that unless you love them, right? So yeah, I could see culture eating strategy all day long. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great you tie it back to that. I never really equated it. I mean, I love team sports, but I never really equated that word to it. I think, I've always, I don't know, there's a lot of deeper things around that, but, I think you got to have boundaries in the sense of, you want to serve, you want to contribute, you want to empower, you want to help people. And at the same time, you have a boundary of, as a leader, you don't always have to be their friend, right? And you have to be, there's a certain level of tact where as a practical psychologist, I think every great coach is, and this ties back to what you said about, we could be coached up hard. I liked coaches that were harder on me. And I think my, not getting a lot of validation from my father pushed me a lot harder because I saw it by example. It's just what you told me, I don't care I want to intrinsically get the validation that you did a good job, but it was more like, I'll prove you, I'll show you that I can do even better, and you can push on me, and I'm going to push back even harder, and you can't break me, But we've heard a lot of athletes, and you've seen them where they're fragile, and there's other times where you are fragile in life, and it's not the right time to just push on someone and stack on the feedback in an aggressive way where they're just going to buckle or not respond.
And I think that's what you're saying also is why people are successful, right? So like there's the two things. There's the there's like a superior complex. Like if you're a high performer, you believe that I deserve this. Like I deserve the goals that I'm looking for because no one's doing what I'm doing. Right. And oh, by the way, I deserve it because if someone's supposed to reach those things, it should be me. It should be me. Okay, great. So you got that part, the superior complex in a way, but at the same time, super freaking fragile too. Because because you go, I'm not good enough for this thing. I'm not good enough for this thing. But because of those two things, it's like this, you have to get there because you're like, man, this person's done it. I'm not as good as this person. I'm not as smart as this person. They're way better than me. So you have both. You have both of those things that equally force you to break through levels. And those two things are what can drive you nuts. And that's what can make you keep going and saying, okay, I got to my 100 million under management. Okay, I still don't feel that great. Right. 200, I don't feel that great. Right. And that's what people talk about. And, hey, yeah, we did X amount of money this year. Yeah, but I still don't feel good because I'm in a room with other people that are doing the things that I want. So it's that constant chase. And so you got to be careful there. Right. But at the same time, that's why people are the way they are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That balance. Yeah. I think what I've learned, great coaches know how to read their player and they know the moment at hand. There's times to push, right? To the ego. Yeah. And it's healthy to have an ego and to be a high performer that there's no way around it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It like you mentioned it. And the other times there's, what I really, one of my favorite Audible books of all time is Open, the biography of Andre Agassi, his autobiography. And that taught me that any high performer, there's moments when you're broken and you're beat up and you're completely depleted and you are going to be vulnerable. And in those vulnerable situations, that's when you find out who you are in the sense of what decisions you're going to make or what you value. And this isn't some righteousness thing about you're always going to do the right thing. You can't think sometimes. I mean, as a person growing a company or when I was fully immersed in training as hard as I could to be an athlete, you can't focus on too many things at once. And you're fully committed to something that your support system is critical. Whoever that is, if it's your girlfriend and your parents or your assistant or your staff or the close group of friends, these athletes, Agassi brings up, he only had a handful of guys that he led into his life and during that point of his life. And that was really important because at least the way I've seen it, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure these guys that are just massive performers, they literally shut out the entire world, just like we talked about at the beginning of the call. It's like, it doesn't matter what's going on with interest rates or the president or your car, if it got stolen outside, it doesn't even matter to some of these guys. It's so narrowly focused that I need to be completely dedicated to this next match, this next training session, this recovery session. Right. So you notice that in business? Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. Cause it's the distractions. It's nobody again, it still comes for me. It comes back to, I can't have anything that's going to give me fear. Cause then with fear, you lose confidence and we need every little bit of confidence because we're taking big swings. We're taking gigantic swings daily. There's nuts that we have to hit on a weekly basis. Payroll needs to be hit on a weekly basis. So you have to have that, there can't be any fear. So anything that comes in with outside bullshit, we have enough of it. We can't have anything else. So yeah, 100%.
And people can be the biggest source of creating that bullshit, or they can be the biggest asset around helping eliminate that bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's something, man. So be cautious of the people you let in your life. And I would say, take inventory. Is this really someone that is supporting it? And, to a point of that, and this is a very controversial topic, but high performers are very selfish. This has been a theme that, the Jordans, the Bradys. I mean, we're never going to be anywhere near that in terms of that level of mastery, but to a degree, still be great at what we do. It's extremely exceptional compared to the rest of the population. And I don't care. My theory is you got to be extremely selfish in terms of what you're willing to sacrifice and give up and the boundaries you have to put around your life. And you have to say, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do for you. And you buy into it, especially in a relationship, or even with your parents or anything else, or you don't buy into it. Yeah. And that's, I have to do that as a man or as a person. And this is who I am. And, I still love you, but I can't provide you some of the things that you want because this is my life. And everyone's going to have to kind of accept that and support that, or I'm not going to be able to love you and you're going to be able to love me the way that you want.
Yeah. I was going to say, cause you're going to be miserable, right?
Right.
Like, cause you're like, they know, like my wife knows I got to work out and she knows if I don't, I'm miserable. Right. Or if I don't, hey, I got to do a little bit of this media stuff. I got to do a little bit of I got to get a video out there. And it's like, okay, just go. Right. And it's like, yes, you get it. Like, I have to do this or you're not going to want to be around me. I got to do what I got to do. And yeah, it is selfish, but at the same time, it is, I don't think if it's done the right way, people wouldn't want it any other way because they want to see you happy if they really love you, right? They want to see that you're being fulfilled and that fulfills them. Because we just like they're going to sacrifice for you, you're going to sacrifice for them on certain things too, right?
Yeah.
So I think
that's a good relationship.
Absolutely, I agree. But I agree there. Yeah, you got to be selfish.
Yeah, and being a single guy and 41 and having a decent level of success. I'm really glad that I'm able to delineate being caught up in a scene wherein I'm glad I got all that shit out of my system in my 20s and 30s, growing up in Vegas and having some battles with addiction or just with, just really getting into the fucking nightmare of going out, being out there. Yeah. It's something that I think It is out there. And I don't care how you say it. I mean, I'm not saying you got to be Mother Teresa and you got to live a perfect straight edge life. Far from that. But I think the thing that's beneficial for me is the little decisions that I make now, not out of sacrifice or discipline, out of just like a worldly view on things about experience and perspective. I don't even enjoy going to a club. I don't even enjoy now having, a bunch of drinks. And I feel like shit waking up the next day. And I truly believe to give my best effort and have the highest quality clarity of thought and make decisions, I have to get to bed at a certain time. I have to take care of my body. I can't be in fucking crazy environments. But it's, I spend a lot of time in, I was in Miami last week and then in LA and in Vegas, and I'm in these cities where, before you know it, this shit can suck you up right away, where you're like, oh, this woman's beautiful. Like, all I got to do is stay out a little bit longer with her. Oh, wow, these guys are super successful in the music industry or the finance industry, and that, and maybe some people can balance that, but it's just, for me, I'm too fucking addictive. Like, my personality is way too addictive to just dabble in that and then be able to pop up Monday morning and be a super productive, highly driven individual. So I just completely disassociate myself, but I can see it. It's really, it can fuck you up quick.
I mean, I love that you know that, and I think that comes from trial and error.
For more information on commercial real estate investing, go to patriotholdings.com. Thanks for listening to Finding Your Edge.